What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this. Around the world, it is a starting 11 prediction for tomorrow's trip to Dens Park to face Dundee. We come into it 1 week on from that semi-final at Hampden, penalty shootout victory over Aberdeen. I think it goes without saying that I'll take 5 run-of-the-mill, mundane, boring victories from now till the end of the season. I don't want anything like the chaos and the stress that we had to endure last Saturday, although you can almost guarantee that that won't be the case. I think last weekend, brilliant to be in the final now, but not our best performance by a long shot. I thought there was some frailties defensively. I don't think we really looked in proper control for big spells in the game. Aberdeen played really, really well. You've got to look at it from their point of view. They've had a really poor season. This is their biggest game. It's a semi-final. It's a chance to get to a Scottish Cup final, which doesn't happen so often for them. They put everything into it. They played well. We were a bit off it. As I say, we looked a bit fragile defensively, and we got punished for it with 2 late equalisers in the game, but we finally got over the line. And we managed to win a penalty shootout, and given our penalty record this season, you've got to be happy with that. Going to Dens Park tomorrow, the last time we were there, it was Boxing Day. We won 3-0. We've got a great record against Dundee this season. 3 games, aggregate score 13-1. Obviously, the 2 3-0 victories in that 7-1 game at Celtic Park. So if you look at all 3 games against them, we've actually played very well. Dundee's last 2 games have been 0-0. One at Pittodrie and one against Rangers, as you know, at Dens Park. I think they're a good team, Dundee. I think they've done very well to make the top 6. They've got some good players in midfield. They're dogged. They play with a good intensity. And as I say, they've actually got the 3rd worst defence in the league. They've conceded the 3rd most goals in the league. But those 2 clean sheets, one at Pittodrie and one against Rangers, will tell you they've sort of shored that up in recent weeks. So we've got to just play at a proper intensity, approach the game with the right mentality. We've got 3 matches. The next 3 games are absolutely huge. If we win them, we will be 6 points clear with 2 games to go. So the next 3 games, starting with Dundee tomorrow, are absolutely massive, and the team need to show their mentality, show their experience in these situations. And in the last 2 seasons, the majority of this squad have shown that winning mentality. They've won the title on both occasions. This is a brilliant chance now to make it 3 in a row. The players have to grasp it with both hands. If you go back to the situation the title race was in 3 or 4 weeks ago before we went to Ibrox, and where it is now, it's totally flipped in its head. We've got a massive opportunity to go and win this title. And Brendan Rodgers said in his press conference yesterday, the players understand the mindset, they understand the psychological traits required at this time of the season. Most of them have done it before. They've got to go and show that tomorrow. They've got to show they've got the fight. They've got the desire to go and win this title. And more importantly, they've got the stomach for it. That's what we've got to do in these next 3 games. And as I say, it starts tomorrow. If you'd have given us Dundee away, Hearts at home and then Rangers at home, win those 3 games and you've basically won the title, you'd have snapped somebody's hand off for it. So it's a massive opportunity for the team. And we've got to go into all guns blazing from the first whistle tomorrow. One thing on team news, I know I mentioned last week about Daizen Maeda, who I think by all accounts was, when he first got injured, maybe going to be out for the rest of the season, but he's made a remarkable recovery. Brendan Rodgers confirmed this. There was rumours about it during the week. I think Brendan Rodgers had said it at an event at Celtic Park, and then he confirmed it in yesterday's press conference, that he's made quite a remarkable recovery. Daizen Maeda, he's back out on a training pitch, he's running. He's not going to be involved this weekend, but he might be ready for Hearts next weekend, and more importantly for that derby at Celtic Park a week later. Maeda's huge for us. We'll come to talking about the wide positions both last week and going forward later in the video, but Maeda's a big boost for us, especially thinking ahead to that derby, and if he can be fit and available for that game, that stands us in good stead. Anyway, we'll get to the team and we'll start in goals like we always do with Joe Hart. One of the most eventful games, probably the most eventful game he's ever played for Celtic last weekend. He concedes 3 goals. We go to a penalty shootout. He's got a chance to put us into the final by taking the 5th and decisive penalty, and he hits the post. And then he becomes the hero anyway because he saves the final Aberdeen penalty to eventually send us into the final. He's played 100 and odd games. There'll not be many more chaotic and and mental than that last weekend. But eventually he came out the hero, so all good. Joe Hart, Johnson at right back, Carter Vickers, Scales, Taylor to complete the back four. Lots to talk about Scales after the game last weekend. I think him and Taylor are culpable for the both equalisers, actually, the one in normal time and the one in extra time. Both Hoylett crosses to the back post, goals from similar areas, and I think the positioning and the decision making about where the danger was coming from, and just sensing the space and the attackers round about you could have been much better. Also the communication in that area, that's something Darren mentioned in the post-match pint, between the goalkeeper but also Scales and Taylor, to shout at each other where the danger's coming from, and deal with it much better. I've talked a lot about Scales. I'm not going to do it again today. I think centre half is an issue for us and something we'll have to strengthen going forward into next season. I don't think we can continue to make allowances for substandard performances going forward. I think we've got to be a lot stronger. I think that's part of both on the ball, trying to build the play, and defensively at times this season it's created problems for us. And every season, any season, you're trying to eradicate your weaknesses, get stronger, and I think that's a big one for us in the summer. But I don't think the back four will be changed at all tomorrow. And I'm going unchanged in the midfield with McGregor, Hatate and O'Reilly. Brendan Rodgers talked about Callum McGregor yesterday in the press conference. I think you can tell he's not quite there with his sharpness. He's not at his usual level. Whether that's just a case of needing more minutes on the pitch. He's not played too much competitive football in the last 6 or 8 weeks, given that he was out with injury. But you can tell he's just not his usual self. I think Aberdeen got a lot of joy in midfield last week. I think the distances and how close we were to the ball when Aberdeen had it were off at times, and I think that intensity was missing, and they got lots of joy in there with Barron and Clarkson, and they caused us problems. So I think hopefully more minutes will help that for Callum McGregor. It's not an injury that you can just work off though, because it does seem like a wear and tear issue in his Achilles. You've just got to hope he can find his higher level when he gets more minutes. And by no means was he absolutely terrible, but I can just think you can tell, that intensity when Callum McGregor's at the top of his game. It's so hard for anybody else in the country to live with. I just don't think he's quite there given the issues from that injury. And in midfield, I think going forward, O'Reilly scored a brilliant goal in extra time. He does really, really well. You think about that stage of the game, you've played 105 minutes, you're in stoppage time at half time and extra time, and he's still got the composure. He's got the lungs to get there and arrive in the box, but the composure to take that touch and just place it into the top corner. So his good form, hopefully his goal scoring form, can continue for this important run of games we've got. And the split in Hatate again, not his most effective appearance since he returned to the team last weekend, but again helping us all the time, and he will keep getting better with minutes and with these runs starts together that he's not had at any time this season. So I think this will be maybe his 4th or 5th start in a row if he is to start tomorrow. And again, you'd expect his sharpness, his intensity to rise with each passing week, and he's so key for us in terms of linking the midfield and the forward line. Now we come to the wide players, and the player in focus this week is James Forrest. I think most of the press conference yesterday, there was at least 3 or 4 questions that were all about James Forrest, and Brendan Rodgers, as he always is, was very complimentary of James Forrest's ability, his technical level, his experience, the influence he can have on the team, but also the influence he's had in games in recent weeks. But I also want to look at it from a stats point of view, because again, we watch games week in and week out, and we call things as we see them. But it's interesting to look at the stats and see if those back up what you're seeing week in and week out. And I think tomorrow, I put Forrest in the starting 11 prediction last week. He didn't start. Yang did continue there. Interesting to hear Brendan Rodgers saying, actually talking about Forrest, that he probably feels he should have had more game time this season. And Rodgers actually admitting himself that he should probably have given him more game time, but he's been giving other players a chance, and I think it's now at the stage where that's almost to a fault, because Yang has played near on 30 matches for Celtic this season. He's played about 1,000 minutes. James Forrest has played 300 and odd, and if you look at the stats, James Forrest is so much better both attacking both offensively and defensively. You look at shot accuracy, 61% compared to Yang's 36%. Shots per 90 minutes, 4.41 compared to Yang's 1.32. Shots on target, 2.7 per 90 compared to Yang's 0.47. That tells you a story that James Forrest is much more direct, he's much more dangerous, he's a much bigger goal threat. Even if you look at the expected goals per 90 minutes, 1.06 for Forrest, only 0.20 for Yang. So Yang's not even getting to the chances anywhere near to the same level as James Forrest. And the other question mark about Forrest obviously is the intensity, the work he needs to put in defensively off the ball, and whether he can do that at this stage in his career. You need to remember he is only 31, 32, he's not 34, 35, 36, as sometimes it feels like in your head. But Brendan Rodgers has said that's the case, that he maybe doesn't feel that James Forrest can bring the intensity that he needs week in and week out against the ball for 90 minutes. But I don't think he needs to do that. But even if you look at the defensive stats compared with someone like Yang, and I know they're at totally different stages of their career, but we're not at the stage where it's just about giving players a chance now. Like Yang, he's had plenty of chances this season. We're at the stage where we have to deliver, and we have to put the players on the pitch that we know can deliver and have done it before. And I know there's always an element of you play your best games in the stand. And James Forrest at various points throughout his Celtic career has been criticised by many people, but I think the collection of wingers we've got now, he is the best option. And just to get to these defensive stats, 1.72 successful tackles per 90 for Forrest, 1.32 for Yang, 1.47 blocks per 90 for Forrest, 0.57 for Yang, and even looking at possession won in the final third per 90 minutes, James Forrest 1.23, Yang only 0.85. I think the case is very, very strong for starting James Forrest, and I get that a lot of people have said, and they're right, that he's been a great impact sub for us, James Forrest, in recent weeks. That's correct. But how long can you go on with needing an impact sub to change the game? Okay, we won't get an intense 90 odd minutes out of him, or 100 minutes as it might be with stoppage time these days, but can we get 65, 70 minutes out of him and get the game to a level where it's secure, and then bring on the likes of Yang to give him a chance, to give him minutes to try and develop him? You can see that Brendan Rodgers is keen to do that. That's why he's had so many minutes, so many starts this season, Yang. He is trying to develop him. He's the young player. He's the player that the club spent money on in the summer. Forrest is in his twilight years, but at the end of the day, it's about getting results. And James Forrest, I believe, is the best winger to do that for us, to try and get us these results we need to get us over the line, because the output from the other wide players has been so poor recently. So tomorrow I'm going Kuhn on the right hand side, Forrest on the left, believe it or not, and Kyogo through the middle. Kuhn and Forrest could interchange, I suppose. You can disagree with me in the comments, by the way, if you think there's no chance James Forrest is going to start this game. I just think Palma's output last weekend off the bench, he's clearly not there at the minute. And I think the jury's out on him as well. Supposed to be the one positive signing from all of those summer signings we made. Still not sure about him, still not sure he's going to cut it long term and be a proper success. Even though his numbers are good, there's just something there that I'm just not sure about with Lewis Palma, so I don't think he's in a position to start. Kuhn on the right hand side, Forrest on the left, Kyogo through the middle, whose pressing got is that equaliser to get his back level after going behind last weekend. Not his best outing aside from that, really, but we know he's the man that can fire us to this league title. He's done it before, he can do it again and again. He does there off the bench to change it up. He did get time last weekend. He put his penalty away pretty well in the shootout. The thing I thought was really strange actually in normal time was that Ida goes over to the corner and tries to hold it in. There's still about 3.5 minutes to play. I think that was just a wee bit too early, and I think that when we lose the ball there, it goes up the other end, and shortly after that Aberdeen have equalised. But Kyogo to start tomorrow, Ida to come on, and hopefully we can have a situation like the St Mirren game where they can both hopefully get on the score sheet. But tomorrow we've got to be intense for the first whistle, and show the mentality that we are going to go and win this title and grab it with both hands. This is our opportunity now. At times this season We've looked like we've had a real lack of intensity, a real lack of desire. That can't happen again. We've got 5 league games left. The next 3 are absolutely huge in determining where the title will go. And it's all in our hands. We've got to go there tomorrow and show right from the first whistle that we mean business, trying to secure this title. So wherever you're watching the game tomorrow, enjoy it. If you want to disagree with the starting lineup, let me know in the comments below, and we'll see you at Dens Park tomorrow with all of the full-time reaction. Thank you.